Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in our previous lecture we learned about embedding media in our HTML file. We learned how to actually add videos in our HTML files, how to add audios in our web pages, how to add Google Maps, how to embed maps in our HTML files. Along with that, we also learned how to add internal files in our web pages. So in our today's lecture, we're going to learn about tables. We're going to see what kind of tags do you need in order to create tables in HTML, what kind of attributes will we need to create those tables, and along with that today we're also going to learn a little bit about CSS. So without wasting any further time, let's begin. Okay guys, so as you can see, I've created a new file and we have named it table.html. I have opened the file in Google so that we can review the outputs. So in the title I'm going to write table, as we're going to learn about tables today. So guys, whenever we think of tables, two things come in our mind: rows and columns. So just a quick review: rows are basically horizontal and they're in the direction of our eyebrows, and our columns are vertical and they're in the direction of our nose. So when it comes to making tables in HTML, we have 2 to 3 things that are really important to know. The first one is that the first tag that we're going to open inside of the body whenever we're going to write a table is going to be the tag that is called table, just like this. And inside this tag we're going to create the whole table. So there are 2-3 things that we can add when it comes to tables in HTML. We can add a table row whenever we have to make a new row. Whenever we want a text to be on the next row, we always have to create a table row, and the tag for that is tr. So we can also add table headings, and for that we use the tag th. And finally we have the tag called table data. Inside we use all of our data, we enter our data, whatever our table is all about. So let's see how you can do that. So guys, inside the table tag I'm going to include some space, just like this, and over here I'm going to create a new row. So first thing that we do is create a row. I just created a row, and if I come in between these tags I can create some space, and between the rows you're going to write a table heading or a table data. Since this is our first row, I want to add a table heading. So let's see how you can add it. All we need is a tag called th, and over here I can say names, so that, you know, if someone wants to create a table that has names and date of births, so you add a heading of names, and the second heading is going to be DOB, as in date of birth. So our headings are complete. Let's quickly press Ctrl S and see what effect only these 2-3 tags have had on our HTML file. So I'm going to press Ctrl S, I'm going to refresh. As you can see, we have 2 headings over here. Number 1 is names, and then we have date of birth. So let's keep on going and try to add data. So now I'm going to create another row, since I want my names to come beneath names and date of birth to come beneath date of birth. So I need a new array in order to come on the next line. So over here I'm going to create a new row. Again, make some space. And over here, now I'm not going to write a heading, I'm going to include a data. So I'm going to write td, and inside of td I will write a name. We can use the name Alex, and in the date of birth we can use XYZ. It can be anything. So now I'm going to press Ctrl S, refresh. As you can see that below names we have Alex, and below date of birth we have XYZ. So one thing to notice over here, guys, that when we make tables there are a lot of sections and cells inside of the table. So in order to bring those lines, to make those cells, we have to use CSS in our file. So let's see how can we include CSS in our HTML file. So guys, in order to include CSS in our HTML file, we have to go all the way up to head, and inside of our head we always have our title. So we press enter and come below title, and over here we can add a tag that is called style, or in other words we can add our style sheet over here. So CSS basically is a cascading style sheet that allows us to modify and customize our website as per our need. So over here I'm going to create a style sheet. I'm going to close it, and inside of the style sheet I'm going to write all of my CSS. Everything is going to be included inside of my style. So over here, if I want to make some lines over here, for that I will have to target. Target means that I will have to select the tags that I want to have some kind of border to them. So in our case right now, I'm going to use TH and TD as my target over here. So I'm going to say TH, comma, TD, and then I put flower brackets over here and press enter for indentation, and inside over TH and TD I can include a border. So for that I write border. So guys, we don't really need those less than and greater than signs in CSS. We can just write element names, tag names as they are. So inside of border, I'm going to first say how much width do I want for my border. I'm just going to use 1 pixel of width. I'm going to press space. So now I'm going to tell that what kind of border do I want, what kind of border style do I want. We have a few options. We have solid, we have dashed, and we have dotted. So for now I'm going to use the solid, and then I'm going to put another space over here. And over here now I have to write the name of the color. So I want the color of this border to be gray. As you can see, okay, so now our border tag has been completed. We have added a border, 1 pixel, that is solid style, and the color is gray. So I'm going to press Ctrl S, refresh, and as you can see, our border has appeared. So guys, if you do not understand the style sheet right now, then it's completely fine, as we're going to study CSS as an other course, and we're going to study in a lot more depth and in a lot more detail, and we will know what is going on inside of style sheets and why do we use it. For now, even if you just copy it as I have written and paste it in your own HTML file and just learn how to make tables, that is going to be enough. So let's move on with our table. So guys, now you can see that this now actually looks like a table. We have cells over here, we have rows, and we have columns. So in our case right now we have 2 rows and 2 columns. This is the first row, this is the second row, this is the first column, and the second column. So now let's keep on going and try to add another row. So as you can see, this is our first row, this is our second row, and now we're going to add a third row. So what we add over here is a tr tag, and inside of this tr tag, let's add another name. So I'm going to say td over here, and we used Alex. Now I can use John, and in the date of birth, we can again use XYZ. Control S. As I refresh, you can see a new row has been created, and we have added a name and a date of birth. So this is how easily you can create tables. So now let's try to increase the number of columns in our table. So for that, I go into my first row where I added headings, and I will simply include another heading. So let's include address, and when I say Control S, as you can see, we have created another column. So if we want to just keep on writing beneath it, we can just go into our TD, table data, and in the TD we can say ABC. And again, in our third row where we have John, we can do the same thing. We can use another TD and use A, B, and C. As I press Control S, sorry about that, I will refresh, and as you can see, now we have 3 rows and 3 columns. So this is our first row, the second row, the third row, and also our first column, we have our second column, and our third column. So let's quickly do another example so we have a better understanding of what's going on in the tables. So guys, now we're going to create another table, a fairly simple one. I'm going to just write table over here, press enter, you have to add a table row, and inside the table row we add a heading. The heading can be names. And guys, this time I'm only gonna add one heading. Let's create another row, and now I'm gonna create this row over here, and now I'm gonna write a TD. Inside the TD I'm gonna add two names. One is going to be John, and in the next TD I'm gonna add another name that can be Peter. And let's create a new row. Now this is going to be our third row, so if I include this, I again add TD over here, and now we can either add another name called Kelly, and over here in this TD we can use the name Alex. If I press Ctrl S, refresh, as you can see in this table we have 3 rows and 2 columns, 1 2 3 rows and 1 and 2 columns. So guys, now what I want is names to appear on top of Peter and John collectively. So right now, as you can see, there's nothing on Peter. So for that, if I want the names to stretch all the way to Peter, I use a tag inside of the names that is known as column span. So what column span basically does is that it stretches our heading or our data, whatever we apply on. Right now I'm applying it on a heading that is names. So I find names from here. As you can see, names is right over here. It is a table heading. Inside the tag I put some space before the greater than sign, and now I will write column span, COLSPAN. As you can see, this is our column span. Then we put equals and inverted commas, and inside the inverted commas we write how many columns do we want the names to exceed. So we include the column that the names is on. This is the first column, and then we have to extend it onto the other column, that is the second column. So basically names is going to move 2 columns. So all I'm going to do is write 2 over here, and if I say Ctrl S, refresh, as you can see, names have now moved on top of John and Peter, and now it looks like one heading for the whole table. So now we have 1 2 and 3 rows and 1 and 2 columns. So now let's see how can we use row span over here. So for that I'm going to remove Kelly for now, and if I press Ctrl S, so you can see that over here we have removed Kelly. We only have Alex over here. So now I want John to extend one step down. I want John to extend downwards. So what I use is that I use row span, because I want John over Peter, and then I want John to come on the next row over here. So for that I'm going to go to John. I'm going to jump into this TD. I'm going to add a row span equals, and over here we have commas. So inside this we actually specify how many rows are we moving. So as you can see, right now John is on the Peter. This is 1 row, and I want John to come down over here. So that is the second row. So we're moving 1 and 2 rows. So I'm going to write 2 over here. I'm going to press Ctrl S. As you can see, now John is over Peter and Alex. So this is how we use row span. This is how we can move elements from one place to another place, and how we can extend them either vertically or horizontally. So if you want to, I will just break it down so that it gets really simple. That if you want something to exceed or to extend horizontally, you use column span, and if you want something to extend or stretch in terms of vertical direction, you use the row span. So this is a very simple trick how you can remember. If you want to exceed in here like horizontally, you use column span. If you want to exceed like this, that is vertical, you use row span. It is as simple as that. A little practice will clear up all the confusion, and I hope you understood both of these tags, row span and column span. So guys, this was all for today. I really hope that you understood each and everything that we tried to learn today. So today we learned all about tables. We learned about how to make tables in HTML. What kind of tags do you need in order to create tables? Also, we learned about column span and row span, and most importantly, a little bit about CSS. In our future videos, we are going to discuss about CSS in a lot more detail. In our next video, I will cover about forms, and we will see how can you make forms inside of HTML. So stay tuned guys, and I will see you in the next one.